My name's Sonja and I live in Bookham, Surrey, not far from London and not actually far from the south coast of England.
What attracted you to start working with InTuition?
I've been working for InTuition for quite a long time. When I was doing my TEFL course in Oxford in April 1994, I asked one or two students on the course if they knew of any agencies, and one of them recommended InTuition. So I got in touch, and I've been working for InTuition ever since, and I'm very happy with the relationship. So that's 30 years.
Can you tell us a story about a student who really made an impression on you during their stay?
Yes. Well, I've had a lot of students over 30 years, so it's not easy to remember all of them very precisely. But the recent one I had was a Swiss student of 60 who had never studied any grammar, really. He'd done certainly not since school, and hardly ever at school, because he was more interested in the sciences. And he'd picked up conversational English with no lessons and no grammar study. And gradually he began to understand the idea of grammar as the scaffolding of a language, and that each language has a different kind of scaffolding, as it were, to hang the language on. So you could not literally translate one language into another. And then he began to understand the idea of grammar and made very good progress. Because another thing I suggested he did was to read parallel textbooks, so he could see very clearly, like his home language was German, that the way they constructed a language in German, their German sentences, was totally different to the English way. And he got to understand that very quickly. And other aspects of the language, like idioms and phrasal verbs and exceptions to rules and specific uses of the language, like make and do, prepositions, etc. And so he really began to understand and identify, when he read, the different construction of the language he was now learning.
And what advice would you give to a new InTuition teacher?
I think first you need to have some accurate assessment of the student's level, because I think one needs to prepare lessons well in advance, and unless you have some idea of their lessons, you don't know what to prepare. But then at the same time, you need to be ready to assess the student and modify your lessons according to the student's needs. I think you need to have a lot of resource material, which I have over 100 books of various points of the language. Vary the lessons, cover all the skills, not concentrating just on one skill, and try to identify the skill that the student is weakest at and give an extra time on that. Be aware of students' levels and needs at all times, and encourage the students to continually produce the language themselves, not just do exercises from a book or fill in exercises, but to actually produce it and practice what they've learned in the lesson. And speaking, and I encourage them to speak and tell a story, and then to write it down, and they realize how much more difficult it is to write the language correctly than it is to speak it in a way that somebody understands what they're saying.
What do you enjoy most about hosting and teaching InTuition students?
It's very nice hosting a student, because you can really get to know the student and establish a good relationship with them. You can help them to reinforce the language if they're with you a lot of the time, if they're living with you. and you can continually correct, especially what they've learned in the lesson, what they've been working on, and they're usually happy to do that. And it also means they learn faster. Also, one can enjoy joint outings together. They can be very interesting. You can spend a lot of time talking about things. They can practice the language they've learnt.
Can you tell us a top English learning tip in 30 seconds?
To recognise what they've learnt when they're reading the foreign language. Say, we say it like this, but in English they say it like that, which will help them to learn it more quickly.